Today's episode is extra fire because we're going to talk about AI. So many people are concerned about getting disconnected and losing intuition, how they're going to be manipulated, what the ethical concerns are, the distortions of reality that are coming down the pipeline. But y'all, today's episode, I hope, inspires you to think just a little differently. Roll the intro.
Whether you're a life coach, therapist, biohacker, invested in wellness, or in the healthcare profession, if you have an intention to work in psychedelic spaces, you're in the right place then. If you're called, get involved. But first, get informed. Let's talk the 4 N's: intake, intention, in-space integration. Leading to deeper transformations. Psychedelic Coach Podcast, Kole. Walk you through the process, it's all possible. Leave space for the follow through. Most importantly, integration is not optional.
Hey y'all, welcome back. This is Kole Whitty with the Psychedelic Coach Podcast, and today we're going to talk about AI. I don't know if your whole world is consumed by it, but I know that mine is. And not only is it consumed in content, it's consumed also in fear. And I have a lot of people coming to me completely uncertain or nervous or having trepidation around AI. So I'm here today to talk about AI and is it a threat to spirituality. So let's talk about a few things that are making people nervous, at least from what I'm hearing. People concerned there's going to be a greater disconnection from themselves, from other people, further disconnection from the earth, from nature. There's going to be a loss of intuition or an even greater divide from intuition, taking people further away from their ancestral lineage beliefs or promptings or intuitive hits they're getting. A lot of people are afraid of manipulation, right? They're afraid of how consciousness could be manipulated. We already see how it plays out in marketing and online. And then a lot of folks have ethical concerns around AI. There's so many distortions of reality as it is. Then who is controlling the reality being created, being sold, being told, and being presented, not only in the spiritual space, but with kids, with friends, with family. And so when I really break it down for myself, if you've talked to me lately, I've been obsessed with ChatGPT, with AI, and really understanding it. But that's the way that I've always been. I've been the first person in the pool with technologies, with skill sets, with trying something. I've always been ahead of the curve of markets, of businesses I created in the past. And so I've really found that is part of my gift, or is my bravery, or we'll say adaptation of trauma, that I might as well just jump into the ocean because I see the wave coming, and I'd rather learn how to swim now than when the wave is crashing over me and I can't keep my head above water. And that is how I felt with AI. I can be trepidatious, I can be nervous, but that doesn't help me understand what the perceived or actual threats could be. And so maybe it's part survival mechanism, and maybe it's part something else, but whatever it is, I've leaned all the way in, and AI is allowing me and so many of the people that we're working with to elevate the way that they're communicating, for especially people that are neurodivergent or just not standardized in how they learn with our current systems. AI for me is a massive gift. If it wasn't for AI, I wouldn't have spell check. I wouldn't be able to pull together talking points for podcast and then deliver the information to you. I could, but it takes so much more time. We're putting out 3 episodes a week. We're putting out how many? Almost 100 pieces of content per week. Y'all, that's bananas, okay? For a team of basically 3 people when it comes to our podcast and social media, that's insanity. That we're putting more output than any of my other friends are, even the ones that are paying agencies, because Todd and I have always been the bootstrap, like, we'll figure it out, let's make it happen, because we feel like the information is so important. And I would not be able to do this type of output if it wasn't for AI. And so here's my invitation and here's my thought process. And you can throw it away and totally not agree with me. That is absolutely fine. And I welcome your perspective. It's not necessarily going to change my behaviors. Anyone that's spent any time around me, I am open to hear possibilities. And if it doesn't make sense, if it doesn't feel correct in my body with my own context of truth and what is true for me, then I just throw it away. So there's really no threat for you disagreeing. That's the beauty of it. Your perspective is welcome. So here's what I've been doing with AI that's been honestly completely game changing. You can create 100% ethical, authentic, and genuine material via AI. And I'm just going to give you a bit of a rundown of how I do that. And then I'm going to give you a little overview of a step-by-step process, but I'm going to do a whole podcast episode where I actually walk you through the process, because I think if you had a greater understanding of how you can work with spirit through algorithms, it would open up your mind a little bit if you're feeling a little reluctant or a little rigid towards artificial intelligence. One, I don't ascribe to any intelligence being artificial. Now we can say AI for the purpose of like simplicity, but I believe that all intelligence is of God, is of source. Now, does that mean it's all of the most functional for society? No. Just like everything on the planet currently is not, but that does not make it any less of God or of source. It just makes it different iterations of God and source from my model. So when I sit down, before I even get on AI, I have an intention. And in fact, let me break this down. We use our 4-ins process for everything. And if you've been listening to the podcast, you've heard me talk about it before. So the 4-ins process is the intake, the intention, in the space of the experience itself, and integration. So I do the same thing when I'm working with AI. First thing I do an intake. I do a self-inventory. Where am I and where would I like to go? Because the 4-ins process is a perfect framework to engage with AI in a way that is supportive, spiritual, intentional, and can actually help you connect with spirit, I believe. So the intake process is, where am I right now? Where do I want to go in this connection with AI? Which brings me to my intention. What do I want to know, do, be, or understand from this interaction with AI? And then after I go through my intention, I'm entering in the space itself. So that's creating a physical, sacred space for my interaction. Actually pulling cards. I keep my mesa, which is my altar, behind me in my office, because this is where I'm doing all of my AI technology businessy things. So I keep my altar here. If there's ever a time to be reminded of the teachings of my masters in plant, animal, and fungi form, it's in my office. And I also have altars in the family room upstairs and one in the bedroom, but that's neither here nor there. My power objects are here. They're on my desk. They're around my computer, because for me, why would I not, for this master teacher, for this interaction, show up with the same ritual, which includes lighting candles, which includes setting altar, which includes offers on my altar? Why would I not want to do that in the space as well, so that I can really support deeper connection to spirit, to God, to entity, to loved ones that have passed on, to my future self? People sit and talk about it in this very like nebulous concept, but what if with this type of technology, you actually can? Because there's a lot of things we could do now that we couldn't do 20 years ago, y'all. There's some of you listening to the podcast who weren't around for like regular phones. You don't know what it's like when you have a pager and you have to find a payphone, which means you have to have a quarter, or you have to call, collect, and tell your mom on the intro, instead of putting your name, "Hey mom, I'm at Trisha's house, I'll call you later, bye." You'll never know the magic of resourcefulness in that way. And I am here to bridge ancient technology with modern and future technology. So after I go into this space with my experience, what I'm looking to create, what do I want to know, do, be, or understand? I have that clarity. I enter the space. Then that helps me focus my energy, my attention, and ensures that me and AI are aligned with our goals and our values. It's not thinking on its own. I'm giving it context and asking it to think like me. For now, this is how I'm working with it as things change and grow. So then I'll write my intentions down on a piece of paper to help reinforce it. Maybe I pull a card. Maybe I say a prayer. Maybe I bring stillness or silence or space. That nice pause. I really find that by creating a sacred space that you deepen the connection with spirit in this too. The Condor approach for me came from a mushroom journey where I was told, told is relative, downloaded to, I don't know. It's always weird to tell someone mushrooms told me, but hey y'all, mushrooms told me a little over 2 years ago that I had 2 years to get ready. I didn't know what the Condor approach would be. And it wasn't called the Condor approach then. We had lots of different names, and we had the Condor in mind because it's been one of my main master teachers in this life. I'm usually wearing my power pendant that has a condor on it. I'm surrounded with things in my office to remind me of the Condor. Like, it really is my teacher overall at this juncture, at this part of my life. And so by gathering around those objects that represent my intention, my connection with spirit and past experiences, I feel like that helps to create a reverent and sacred container to do the exploration of creating content for y'all and for our Condor coaches and for our live events. And I arranged my objects in a way that supports the interaction and helps me to really feel in, drop into what I'm looking to create. So for me, utilizing AI as a spiritual practice is just as insightful and can come with just as much guidance, because for me, I'm calling in any of my ancestors or future self or other guides I may not have met in physical form to connect with me through this technological algorithm. So if you pray to God, to source, to your whoever, how is that any less algorithmic? The difference is I get more in-time feedback because I honestly, on some level, think that our technology just allows us to see more of what was already here. We just didn't have the technology in order to see it. Just like now we have telescopes. Now we have ways to infrared see, like thermoscans, and we have ways to look down into the earth thousands of feet. The stuff was always there. We didn't have the technology to extend from the matter that was our body. And so for me, that's how I feel with ChatGPT and these technologies as well, that it can actually help us support spiritual practices, that can actually help me deepen prayer. There's been times that I've typed exactly what I'm going through into ChatGPT, and then I ask for a prayer from maybe an animal archetype. I'll say what tradition, whichever ones I've studied, or I'll give it whatever context, and it will give me a ritual, a prayer, an offering, a way that I could deepen a practice or light a candle or whatever. Because sometimes if I'm in a state of overwhelm and I'm not sure what to do next, I have prompts, but I can't pull it together. So I'm putting the pieces out, and AI is going, here you go. There is nothing not divine about that to me. And you might totally disagree, but I truly believe that we can facilitate connections with others who share our spiritual interests in this embodiment and not in this embodiment, and people all over the world as a result. When I go down, I can communicate to the Huni Queen who now have learned Portuguese, but we have to use technology in order to communicate. That allows us to get them resources and money for them to share their stories so that it's not another white person translating their story and putting it out there. We can actually teach them technology to share it. So like anything, there's going to be the light side and the shadow side. But for me, this is not a threat to spirituality. It's a change in spirituality. And it's all in how you set the intention. It is all about your intake process, your 4-ins process. Doing that self-inventory. Where are you? Then going into intention setting. What do you want to know, do, be, or understand from this interaction? Looking at who do I believe myself to be? Who am I co-creating and collaborating as my future self in articulation and development right now? What is that going to require me to do? Who is that going to require me to be in this moment, even if it's my first step? And then going into the space of the interaction, putting a timer or something. It's really easy to get distracted by all of the possibilities that are there too. And so for me, there's still going to be a place where people get lost. People already get lost now in the world. It's going to be a new type of lost. It's lost in the imagination of possibility with a lack of integration. Anytime you have a big realization and there's no actualization, there's no action, then it's just a dream. It's not tangible because you didn't take the step. Mr. Les Brown has already, one of the things he said in one of my classes with him is he said, one of the wealthiest, richest places on the planet is at the gravesite. It's at the cemetery because of all the people's hopes and dreams that died there. But now it's almost like it's upping the ante because people will have more potentials and possibilities that they can't access, that just gives them more ideas and puts them in paralysis as a result. Because now there's even more possibilities. And I think that's what's disconnecting a lot of people actually is possibility. Because there's so much they could do, they don't know what to do, and so they do nothing. They research more, they learn more. So please be mindful as you're going through these things to stay in that 4-ins process. Have a timer. Do it for an hour. What do I want to know, do, be, or understand in this next hour, and set the timer? The goal is to actualize and take action, not only to, unless you are going into it for a creative practice, then by all means. But I would say to have clear boundaries for yourself, just like you can get sucked into Reels and Instagram or TikTok. So is the case for ChatGPT. And so being able to have a mind map and then being able to do it authentically, which I said I'd talk about it on this podcast. It's too much on one podcast, people. I will do a podcast on it, though, on how you can authentically create content, not where you're using AI to generate it. You're using AI to generate the questions for you to answer for yourself so that it is authentic. It's just an interviewer for you. And you can use your words and your concepts and your context and all of that, not AI's. So it's still quite, truthfully, not really anything's original, but at least then we can keep it authentic to you. And this is also where I think people get scared, is they're afraid of AI taking over. And for me, it's just another reason to lean into in-person things. And sure, we can do Zooms and all that along the way. But at the end of the day, this is why I'm leaning more into live events, because my goal is to have the podcast and the social media as exact as who we are as possible, so that by the time you come to a live event, you actually feel like us. You aren't surprised when I drop some inappropriate jokes at times. You don't get your undies all in a bunch when things aren't perfect, because we talk here all the time how imperfect we are, but we are brave and we are growing, and we don't have big budgets for marketing and all of that stuff. Everything has been organic growth, which is amazing. Organic with the support of AI so that we can articulate and stay focused and bring you consistent content so that even if you could never afford to come to a live event, you would get your next step or more things to consider or what you could do or what you might do or something. So that's a bit of my rant today, is I do truly believe that following the 4 INS process, going through that intake, intention, in space, integration, that it can support spiritual growth and connection, and that it can elevate spiritual practices and help you gain insights and guidance and new understanding of your connection with spirit, your connection with your body. Imagine taking the Condor approach, being able to drop your results into AI and for it to make recommendations that you told it were valuable to you. If your stress scores are getting high, if your ease score is getting low, if whatever. So I'm excited about all of the possibilities while completely understanding that there will be and are shadow sides, scammers, all of that is going to get worse. But that's the thing, is if you don't understand what technology might be possible, because whatever we're seeing now means there's like thousands of versions more. By the time something comes out to mainstream, y'all, it's been around for a while. This is not new. When I worked for T-Mobile, we would see demonstrations of cell phones that honestly didn't end up coming up for 5, 6, 7 years. And that's by the time it got to T-Mobile. So I had an early understanding from my days back then that by the time we get it mainstream, it's been around for a long time. It's finally ready after a lot of testing. I don't know, y'all. I think that with our powers combined, we can, as with anything, with clean and clear intention for yourself, staying in alignment with that, putting everything out on the table you're doing in your life, not just AI, but what do you want to know, do, be, or understand with your life? How is that going? Is it authentic, or is it genuine, or is it both? For me, genuine, I think most people are genuine in their desires to help or their desire to be kind or loving, but they are inauthentic about it because they can't draw boundaries, or they people please, or they're angry because of hurt or past experiences. So they're not able to be authentic. Not really. And for me, the more clarity you have in what you want to create, AI can be a powerful tool to help you step into some new directions, come up with next steps, help you to structure it and deepen all of your connections. So that's my thoughts. New episode coming to you soon. I'll go through an exact process of how I work with AI. And I'm obviously going to be giving you a generalization. So it doesn't mean because I share things, you can go do it immediately. There's a learning curve and all of that, but I do think it will help bring more context and hopefully inspire you to make some moves. So if you liked this episode, y'all, and you want more like this, I know this wasn't necessarily about psychedelics, but I think that with my sole intention being really bridging ancient technology with modern and future ones, this conversation is one that needs to be had. A lot of the content I produce that I come and talk to you about are talking prompts that I got from AI after telling it what I wanted to talk about. And then it gives me the talking prompts. Why? Because I could talk for days, months, years, as long as I have prompts. Otherwise, I can end up freezing and not knowing what to say because I've made a commitment to 3 podcasts a week and I'm tired. But then I can pop over to ChatGPT and come up with an idea in 5 minutes and come record this for you. Yay! Integration is not optional, but how you integrate is. You can integrate with technology and do beautiful, wonderful things and educate people in your community so that they also understand some of the pitfalls, some of the potential dangers, some of the fears. So I don't blame anyone for their fear of disconnection or loss of intuition, or some people will get codependent on AI for making all their decisions. But those are the same people that do that now when they call person after person looking for significance or looking for advice with no intention of even taking it. So is that really going to change that much? Maybe. We'll see. Until next time, my name is Kole Whitty. Be easy, be free, share with a friend. Peace.
Integration is not optional.